Last month, the tech industry slashed over 15,000 jobs. The unemployment rate for tech occupations is now climbing toward 4.3%. With thousands of qualified developers and engineers looking for work, the hiring market should be saturated with domestic talent. Yet, according to the official fiscal year 2025 USCIS report, the government just authorized over 46,000 new H-1B visa approvals. Overall, they approved over 252,000 petitions, specifically for tech and IT roles. These layoffs represent real career disruptions for American workers. These are specialists who spent years training, only to find themselves boxed out of the very industries they helped build. Tech giants lobby Congress to expand the H-1B program, claiming a lack of qualified local applicants. But the data suggests a different motive. Corporations use the visa program to import cheaper labor, targeting foreign workers willing to accept salaries 25% lower than domestic market rates. This creates an impossible environment for local workers. Instead of attracting rare global talent, the H-1B system often functions as a corporate tool for wage suppression, reducing the earning power of the American middle class. The standard corporate defense is that they must hire foreign IT workers because these imported applicants are inherently more capable than American candidates. They frame it as a global search for the top tier of talent. Domestic innovators laid the foundation for Silicon Valley and the modern computing landscape. The technical capability of the American workforce is not a new or unproven concept. This chart shows the distribution of H-1B visa approvals for the current fiscal year. 70% of all FY 2025 approvals, over 283,000 visas, went to citizens of a single nation, India. The rest of the globe combined barely registers on the chart. 70% of approvals originating from a single country suggests a system that has moved far beyond a diverse global search for talent. It indicates that specific regional networks have mastered the mechanics of the U.S. application process. A program intended to attract the world's best is now dominated by localized networks. This level of concentration shifts the focus away from individual merit and toward regional coordination within the application pipeline. Securing these visas requires proving specialized knowledge, and an entire overseas industry has sprung up to manufacture those qualifications on an industrial scale. The fabrication is widespread. Researchers discovered that between 2005 and 2014, an estimated 16,000 English-language peer-reviewed journals were launched in India alone. These journals exist to generate a searchable paper trail of academic expertise. Applicants use these publications to buttress fake degrees and clear the initial requirements for a U.S. work visa. A former U.S. consulate officer stationed in Chennai reported processing roughly 200 visas a day. In that environment, the officer estimated that between 70 and 90% of applicants were actively using fraudulent methods to enter the system. Even when visa officers spot the deception, their hands are tied. H-1B applications arrive pre-approved by the Department of Homeland Security. Denying them requires drafting complex legal memos that overworked officers, processing hundreds of people a day, rarely have the time to complete. Because the system is built for volume rather than verification, the U.S. government effectively facilitates its own exploitation. It has stripped away the security friction needed to catch massive overseas fraud. Once inside the United States, the fraud often leads to an ethnic preference loop. When a foreign-born worker moves into a senior hiring role, they frequently favor hiring fellow H-1B visa holders from their home country. This dynamic blocks many American citizens from reaching senior tech positions. IT consulting firms and body shops rely on visa holders because they are easy to control. Because a naturalized citizen or an American worker will demand a fair market wage, they are often explicitly avoided by these hiring networks. The largest tech giants in the industry follow this same playbook. Microsoft provides a clear example of how these displacement strategies operate at scale. In 2025, Microsoft filed over 6,300 H-1B petitions, 78% of which were for Indian nationals. They requested this influx of foreign labor while simultaneously executing mass layoffs of over 9,000 existing employees. Many corporations add a final indignity. American IT staff are given their layoff notices and then forced to spend their final weeks on the job training their cheaper foreign replacements. These companies are making a calculated choice. They are prioritizing corrupt hiring networks and visa loopholes over the retention of highly qualified American citizens. The damage extends beyond the tech sector. This corporate labor scam creates a massive economic drain on the United States every single year. Because these workers are foreign nationals with ties to their home countries, a significant portion of their earnings leaves the U.S. economy. India receives roughly $140 billion a year in remittances sent back by visa workers in the U.S. While their earnings leave the country, these workers utilize domestic resources. Despite having 3-year temporary visas, many use taxpayer-subsidized programs, like Federal Housing Authority loans, to purchase American real estate. This creates a broken dynamic for the American net taxpayer. They fund federal subsidies only to find themselves competing for housing against foreign nationals, using those exact tax dollars to drive up prices. The H-1B program has become a dual threat. It displaces the domestic middle class from their careers, while simultaneously weaponizing their own tax dollars against them. With fraud so deeply embedded in the application pipeline and the corporate hiring loop, many are now arguing that the program is too far gone for simple reform. Advocates for the American worker suggest that a total shutdown is the most effective path forward. Lawmakers like Senator Eric Schmidt are reviewing the reports and recognizing the scale of the fraud. Any effective legislative response must address the entire system, including the heavily abused H-4 work authorizations that further flood the labor pool. While legislative action moves slowly, the economic damage is immediate. Protecting the American workforce requires a direct response from the citizens themselves. We have to hit the corporations that utilize these replacement tactics. When a company like Disney replaces its domestic IT staff with cheaper imported labor, the most powerful response is an aggressive and unyielding consumer boycott. Corporations will only stop gutting the American middle class when it becomes too expensive to continue. It is time to starve these operations of the revenue they need to sustain the scam.